It might finally be time for some big changes to be made with Chelsea. Maybe Liam Rosenior could depart the club. Maybe some big players could depart the club. Or maybe the ownership could change. Who knows? Because it has come down to the point where Chelsea have lost to Man United like 10 hours ago. The fans are protesting against the ownership. They're booing the manager. They're booing the players. The players don't seem like they have any belief in the system. It doesn't seem like they respect the manager at all. And it doesn't seem like there is any sort of structure at Chelsea. It doesn't seem like there is any plan with Chelsea. And it doesn't seem like Chelsea is aiming to go anywhere with this strategy. And I am mad again. I'm angry again. I didn't see the game live last night. I had to go to sleep because I had to wake up early and go to the gym. I have stuff to do over watching a team that is guaranteed to disappoint everyone. And if you didn't believe it before the game yesterday, you had to see it in the game. And if you saw the game, you would think that this Chelsea team would never go anywhere. And it has never gone anywhere in the past 2 months. Ever since Enzo Fernandez departed the club especially. It hasn't seemed like Chelsea have any sort of direction. It hasn't seemed like Chelsea are a club which you can expect anything from. It has felt like Chelsea are a mid-table club that just fights for European spots every season. Because that is the way Chelsea have been playing. And you can't blame it all on Liam Rosenior. I mean, the man will take the job if you offered him a job at one of the best clubs, one of the biggest clubs in the world. You boast about being the world champions, which, by the way, was the accomplishment of another coach. And you bring in one of your coaches from your sister clubs. And you put him in charge of this huge machine with so many characters, so many figures, so many egos involved in it. And you've got a fan base that is already frustrated with you for the past 4 years. And you've got to satisfy their demands. You've got to satisfy their urges. You've got to keep everyone happy. And what's the way to keep everyone happy? You just keep winning on the pitch. You just keep winning those trophies. You keep yourself in contention for the top spots. You keep challenging the best teams in the world, if not actually beating them. And that has not been the case since the end of January. The last time that was the case, it was when Chelsea beat Napoli in that comeback. It was when Chelsea beat West Ham in that comeback. When Enzo scored on his 3-year anniversary at the club. So I went back and I watched the replay of the game. I watched the full match replay. And it is so clear what the flaws at Chelsea are. It is so clear where the problem lies. Because what was happening before the game? Let's look at what was happening before the game. I've got it all listed down here. So Chelsea before the game had lost 5 games. And they hadn't scored in 4 of those. That is an embarrassing statistic for a club of Chelsea's stature. You still are hoping for something miraculous to happen. You are still hoping to beat Manchester United, who, no matter how bad they have been recently, no matter how topsy-turvy Michael Carrick's season has been, they are Manchester United. They will put up a challenge against you. And given the history that Chelsea have had with Manchester United in the last 10 or so years, in the last decade, they should have been more cautious than ever. People keep bringing up the 4-3 defeat that Chelsea inflicted on Man United. That was 3 years ago under Mauricio Pochettino when colepalmer scored that late winner and scored a hat-trick. That was ages ago at this point. There's no point in bringing up all the heroics of the past 2 or 3 years. That era is gone now. We're in a different era with Chelsea right now. You can't call it the Rosenior era because I don't think Rosenior has as much of an influence on this Chelsea team, their performances, or in the workings of the club as the other managers did have, very evidently. Rosenior is at fault for the way Chelsea have been playing. Rosenior is at fault for many of Chelsea's results, but he's not at fault for the players. He's not at fault for the club's functionings. He's not at fault for the media briefings that the club's been providing, and they're so easy to see through. I've got no grudges against anyone at the club, around the club, working with the club, but everything is so easy to look into. It's like you're trying to make something transparent, opaque so badly. And what happened before the game was, so Enzo is back into the team, Joao Pedro is out, and Liam Delap is in. Now, Delap hasn't scored in the last 20 games. That is, I don't even know what to say. You were comparing the likes of Morata, Higuain, you were comparing Lukaku, you were comparing Timo Werner, you were comparing crystalpalace, Hakim Ziyech, you were comparing Armando Broja, you were comparing Mark Guiu. You let go of Christopher Nkunku, you let go of Joao Felix, and then you bring in Liam Delap, you bring in Alejandro Garnacho, you bring in Jamie Gittins. I mean, seriously? Is this how a serious club goes about it? Is this how a serious club goes about their transfer business? Does any of these signings scream seriousness or potential to you? I mean, yeah, Gittins, Delap, Garnacho, they are not bad footballers, but they are bad for a club of Chelsea's level. They can't provide Chelsea with what they need, ever. Or if they could, they need to be developed. They need to be developed seriously. They need to be taken care of. Their talent needs to be nurtured and cherished in a club that actually strives to develop their youth system like Borussia Dortmund does. But you come to a club like Chelsea, that is, their entire DNA is based on winning at the moment. That is, their entire DNA is based on bringing in winners, from players to coaches to management to managerial, directorial staff. You bring in winners, proven winners, and you win with them right now. You provide quick results and you provide them consistently. That is how you succeed at Chelsea. And now you try to change the DNA of the club. You try to build the club into a multi-feeder model. You try to bring in young players and develop them. And then you're buying young players from all over the world for exorbitant fees. You're the club that's paying the most amount of money to players' agents. You're the club that's the worst in the losses made in the past season. You're like 250 million down in losses. That could perhaps be 350, 700 million if you extend that to the larger consequences of it. And then you don't even develop those young players properly. Half of those players get sold. There isn't a clear pathway for those young players to come into the team and make their impact. And even if they are doing so, the team is entirely relying on them. The team is entirely relying on someone like Estevao, someone like Jorel Hato. You let go of Nicholas Jackson and you still haven't replaced him. Yeah, there is Joao Pedro. But who is assisting Joao Pedro in all the work that he's doing? Colepalmer had Nicholas Jackson when he was here. And even with that squad, Maresca managed to win the Conference League and the Club World Cup. Maresca was a top manager in terms of his tactics, in terms of his mentality. We hadn't had such a manager since Thomas Tuchel. And you really expect someone who has as much experience as Liam Rosenior does, and no offense to Rosenior, I'm sure he's a great guy, I'm sure he's a great coach with great ideas. But can you really argue with the fact that Maresca has one up over him with the things that he's done and he's proven at a club of Chelsea's level? Manchester United were without any of their major centre backs. They were playing a weak line in defense. And Chelsea still failed to score. And this is where the XG shows and doesn't show at the same time a lot of. It tells and doesn't tell a lot of the tale at the same time. Chelsea's XG, 1.75. And Man United, on the other hand, it's barely 0.4. And Chelsea still failed to score. You know why that happened? That just goes on to show how bad the Chelsea recruitment have been. Because when you actually see the game, you see the mistakes that the attackers are making. You see the terrible passes that were being provided into the players who were actually getting into the penalty box. I mean, I saw a pass in the 18th minute that Pedro Neto provided to Garnacho. He had a ball right outside the box, and he passed it on to Garnacho, who was barely getting to that area in the penalty box. And he too was on the other edge of the penalty box. There is no one there. So who is he passing that ball to? He could have passed that ball a few yards away, a few feet away even, to the other attackers who were actually in front of the goal. And that definitely would have been a goal because Sana Lemons, he was nowhere close to saving that goal. No offense to Liam Delap, he's probably a great chap. You see the lack of agility, you see the lack of pace that a striker playing for a club like Chelsea should have. And that is one of the areas that Nicholas Jackson excelled in. Enzo Fernandez comes back into the squad after all the drama that he had. The only player who dared to speak out against the club, who dared to speak out against the practices, the approach that the club has been taking to their development in recent times. And he gets suspended for that. I mean, yeah, you could say that he was flirting with the idea of getting to Madrid, but he was barely even answering a question. Did he commit some crime or something? I mean, he just said that he would like to live in Madrid one day. He didn't say that he desperately wants to go to Real Madrid right now. And even if he did, could you blame him? With the way Chelsea have treated him in the past 3 years, they've not delivered on the promises that the club had for him. Have they delivered all the trophies that the club had projected for him to win, for the franchisee player? And when the franchisee player is entering his prime years, would he not want to go to one of the best teams in the world? Could you really blame him for that? Okay, then you suspend him and then you bring him back. But you don't even give him the captain's armband then. One of the only leaders, the actual leaders on the pitch. I'm not bugged that they gave it to Caicedo because he is actually a leader and Caicedo does provide some value to the club. And he just signed a new deal that was announced like yesterday or a couple of days ago. But what is this treatment of Enzo Fernandez? And Enzo was one of the best players of Chelsea against Manchester United as well. He provided that pass to colepalmer which he failed to convert, and he still proved his worth again. So why is one of the best players of the club getting treated like this? For what, calling out the club on not being at the level that they're supposed to be at? For not offering him the contract that he's supposed to have? Chelsea could be a really better business, let's say, if not profitable. And some of the players that were playing for Chelsea last night, it felt like they hadn't even kicked the ball in ages. You go to a game in the lower leagues and you'll find better players. You'll find players giving it their all. You'll find players who are actually using their mind and their body and their mind and their feet and collaborating with other players to actually get to the goal and try to get the ball in. But you didn't see any of that in Chelsea. And then Manchester United went on to score that goal that they did. Chelsea were never coming back from that point. And then Estevao gets injured. One of the only bright spots about the club, about this team. He gets injured again. And he's gone down crying. What is even happening at the club? The men's team is not in order. The women's team is not in order. The youth, yeah, they've won the PL recently. But are we managing them as well as we're supposed to be? The club is in a record. The club is making record losses, and all the briefings that are coming out of the club, none of that is positive. There was a protest, the most important thing from yesterday, the protest against the club, against the hierarchy. Both Chelsea and Strasbourg fans uniting to protest against BlueCo, to protest against Clearlake. And there were hundreds of fans. That it was a serious protest. But if there has to be some serious change and it has to be brought to the club's notice, there have to be more fans than just a few hundred. There has to be more dissent against the team and the ownership than just chants in the stadium. Because it doesn't seem like those chants are affecting anyone in any way. At best, we get some briefings, which very clearly you can make it out that they're briefings and not actual reportings. It is so clear to see with Chelsea what the problem is, and whoever dares to speak about it, they get a bad rep in the club, in the media, whatever, among some of the fans as well. I'm surprised that some of the fans are hating on some of the players for speaking out. I'm surprised that there is such a tribalism in the Chelsea fan base, and not the unity that they need, and not the unity that the Chelsea fan base did have 4 years ago. And I remember it very well. There was some sort of weird sense of unity that was surrounding the Chelsea fan base when the club was getting sold. But what happened to that unity now? Does the ownership, does whoever is in charge right now expect to win anything with this squad? Maresca went as far as he could. He probably could have gone farther, but he went as far as he could with his squad. He was really squeezing the juice out of it. There has been one clean sheet in the last 12 games under Liam Rosenior. Liam Delap hasn't scored in 20 games. Garnacho and Palmer haven't scored in 7, 8, 9 games. João Pedro is out. Garnacho even tripped onto his own feet while launching a counter-attack yesterday. If you saw that moment, that was the most comical and embarrassing moment at the same time. It is trending all over the internet right now. And for the first time since 1993, that is 33 years ago, Chelsea have failed to score in 4 consecutive Premier League games. If that is not a sign of some dystopia that the club is in, I don't know how any fan could be satisfied with how Chelsea have been functioning and not just playing on the pitch. And then Rosenior goes on to say in the press conference that Chelsea dominated most of the game. Do you really expect people to believe that? I mean, people saw the game with their eyes. Chelsea were never in this game. Chelsea were never in this game from the very start of the game till the very ultimate minute. Chelsea were never in the game. I don't know what's going to happen with Chelsea, but there are no positive signs at all. And I can't do anything else than rant right now. I can't do anything else but rant. You can do all the analysis, you can provide all the context there is with the club, but it all comes down to one thing, and we all know what it is. Anyways, that was it for the video. I just wanted to discuss the Man United game, and I'll see you guys really, really soon. If you want to subscribe to my newsletter, check out the link in the description below. What did you think of Chelsea's performance and how Chelsea have been in recent times? Let me know in the comments. This is Irish signing off again.